From the very first words of Scripture, there is a rhythm, a deliberate unfolding that invites both attention and reflection. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1 verse 1. These opening lines are not merely historical assertions. They are poetic proclamations, profound in both simplicity and depth. As we read them slowly, verse by verse, a pattern emerges, a structured, sequential revelation of creation that reveals more than surface events. It reveals the mind of God, the order of the cosmos, and the deliberate care with which the universe came into being. Genesis presents the creation account in a series of 6 days, each with its own focus, its own unfolding purpose. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Genesis 1 verse 3. Light is foundational, both literally and metaphorically. In this act, God separates light from darkness, establishing not only day and night, but also a principle of order and distinction. The poetic repetition, the deliberate framing of "and God saw that it was good," signals careful observation, a divine acknowledgement of completeness and harmony. The text encourages the reader to pause, to witness the emergence of form from void, to reflect on the intentionality underlying every act of creation. As we progress to the second day, the account details the formation of the firmament, the sky, separating the waters above from the waters below. Genesis 1 verses 6 to 8. At first glance, this may seem like an ancient cosmological description, a mythic attempt to explain atmospheric phenomena. Yet a careful, reflective reading suggests a broader principle. Separation and distinction are essential to life. The boundaries established by God, the spaces designated for different elements, are not arbitrary. They reflect an orderly system, a cosmos in which life can flourish. Here, the Genesis text resonates with the scientific observation that structure precedes function, that environments must be delineated for life to exist sustainably. On the third day, the narrative describes the gathering of waters and the emergence of dry land, followed by the sprouting of vegetation. Genesis 1 verses 9 to 13. Land and water, plants and trees, all appear in a measured sequence, echoing modern understanding of ecological systems in which habitats form before sustaining flora and fauna. Genesis does not provide formulas or empirical detail, yet the poetic sequence mirrors natural processes. The account emphasizes rhythm, timing, and interdependence. As we reflect, we recognize that the text invites careful observation. Creation is relational, interconnected, and purposeful. Each element is positioned to support what will follow, and in this arrangement, there is a subtle alignment with the gradual, ordered emergence observed in nature. The fourth day introduces the creation of lights in the heavens: sun, moon, and stars. Genesis 1 verses 14 to 19. The text emphasizes their role in marking seasons, days, and years. Beyond their functional purposes, the lights symbolize order, guidance, and rhythm. Here again, poetic language carries layers of meaning. The movement of celestial bodies, their governance of time and seasons, mirrors patterns that scientific observation later uncovers. The narrative does not aim to provide a physical explanation, yet its structure aligns with the concept of systems unfolding with precision and purpose. The heavens, like the earth below, are carefully arranged, reflecting a cosmos in which light and time, rhythm and cycle are essential to sustaining life. On the fifth day, God populates the waters with living creatures and the sky with birds. Genesis 1 verses 20 to 23. The narrative celebrates diversity in motion, the flourishing of life within the environments prepared on previous days. The sequence is deliberate. Habitats precede inhabitants, and ecosystems are carefully established before life is placed within them. Scientific parallels emerge, not in detail, but in principle. The order of appearance, the interdependence of species and environment, and the underlying design that enables complex life. The Genesis text, poetic and theological in tone, anticipates these relationships. encouraging readers to see life not as random, but as intentional, interconnected, and harmonious. On the sixth day, the account culminates in the creation of land, animals, and humanity. Genesis 1 verses 24 to 31. Humanity, created in the image of God, occupies a unique place within the created order. The text emphasizes responsibility, stewardship, and moral awareness. Humans are placed within an already structured world, invited to engage, cultivate, and preserve it. The poetic account conveys more than chronology. It conveys purpose, relationship, and ethical orientation. It highlights the interplay between freedom and responsibility, creation and stewardship, divine intention and human participation. Modern readers may perceive echoes of ecological balance, evolutionary sequence, and the interdependence of life, yet the text itself frames these observations within a moral and theological narrative, calling the reader to reflection and reverence. The seventh day completes the narrative with divine rest, a Sabbath, sanctifying the rhythm of creation. Genesis 2 verses 1 to 3. The pause is profound. It signals completion, satisfaction, and the establishment of order not only in the material cosmos, but also in the divine-human relationship. Rest is not cessation alone. It is acknowledgement, reflection, and communion. The poetic cadence invites us to enter into the rhythm of creation, to observe and contemplate, to align human life with divine timing. It reminds us that creation is not merely a historical event, but an ongoing invitation to recognize order, beauty, and purpose in the world around us. Reflecting on the Genesis creation account with this verse-by-verse attention reveals surprising alignments with scientific principles. While the text does not offer empirical data or mechanistic explanation, its sequence from light to sky, land, vegetation, life, and humanity resonates with contemporary understanding of cosmic evolution, ecological interdependence, and the gradual unfolding of life. Light precedes atmospheres, oceans precede land, plants precede animals, and ecosystems develop in interrelated stages. The narrative's poetic language captures these patterns in a manner both accessible and profound, demonstrating that theological insight and natural observation need not conflict, but can illuminate one another when approached with care, reflection, and reverence. Yet the Genesis text transcends science. Its purpose is not to teach biology, chemistry, or cosmology. It is to convey theological truth, spiritual insight, and moral orientation. The poetic account emphasizes God's intentionality, the goodness of creation, and humanity's unique role within it. The repeated refrain, "And God saw that it was good," invites reflective meditation on quality, value, and divine satisfaction. Each day's act of creation is both a factual statement and a spiritual lesson, encouraging the reader to see God's presence in the unfolding cosmos, to recognize the moral order embedded in creation, and to contemplate humanity's responsibility within this framework. This careful, reflective reading also uncovers a subtle didactic purpose. The Genesis account shapes perception, cognition, and ethical imagination. By presenting creation sequentially with rhythm, pattern, and interconnection, the text encourages the reader to discern order amid complexity. The poetic repetition cultivates attentiveness, inviting deep engagement with each verse. The narrative's pace fosters reflection, allowing the reader to internalize meaning gradually, echoing the slow, deliberate unfolding of creation itself. In doing so, Scripture bridges the gap between observation and understanding, between natural phenomena and moral discernment. From a historical and literary perspective, Genesis aligns with the wisdom tradition of the ancient Near East, yet distinguishes itself in both subtlety and depth. Creation accounts elsewhere often serve political, cosmological, or mythological purposes. Genesis, by contrast, emphasizes relationality, purpose, and moral insight. The poetic language is layered, inviting reflection without prescribing exhaustive detail. It communicates principles that resonate across millennia: order, rhythm, interdependence, and intentionality. The creation days, while poetic, are theological, ethical, and deeply human in their teaching, offering insight into God's character, the moral structure of the world, and the responsibilities entrusted to humanity. As we consider the poetic sequence of creation, it is also important to recognize its enduring spiritual significance. Light and darkness, separation of waters, emergence of land, flourishing of life, and the sanctification of rest are not mere literary devices. They convey principles of discernment, stewardship, and harmony. Observing patterns in the natural world, reflecting on the careful sequence in Scripture, and contemplating human responsibility within creation invite prayerful meditation. Each day of creation encourages the listener to pause, observe, and integrate understanding of both the cosmos and the moral, relational order God has established. This verse-by-verse engagement illuminates the balance between divine sovereignty and human participation. Creation is initiated by God, yet humanity is called to stewardship, engagement, and moral awareness. The Genesis account teaches that understanding the cosmos, whether through observation, study, or reflection, is inseparable from understanding human responsibility. Scientific observation and theological insight converge in this poetic narrative. Both reveal a cosmos ordered, relational, and purposeful. By examining Genesis' poetic language carefully, we also recognize patterns that invite reflection on continuity and coherence in Scripture. The sequence of creation days forms a rhythm that echoes throughout the Bible. The unfolding of God's plan, the structuring of moral and spiritual development, and the ordering of human life within the created world. The text implicitly models attentiveness, discernment, and contemplation, qualities essential for deep engagement with Scripture and with life itself. Finally, the creation days challenge us to integrate reflection, observation, and application. As we consider light and darkness, sky and sea, land and life, human responsibility and divine rest, we are invited to see the interconnectedness of all things. The Genesis account, poetic and theological, encourages an ethical and spiritual response, to recognize God's intentionality, to observe creation with care, to engage responsibly with the world, and to align our lives with the rhythms of divine order. In this, Scripture and natural observation converge, guiding reflection, cultivation, and reverent action. This is Bible Scope, your place to find light, find truth, and find purpose. If this journey speaks to your heart, like the video and subscribe to walk through Scripture with us. As we've walked through this passage, what patterns or insights resonate most with your understanding of creation? How might the poetic sequence of the days inspire the way you live, observe, or engage with the world today? If this exploration helped you grow, like the video and subscribe, your journey through the pages is just beginning.